Hello everybody, today I'm watching Top 10 Worst Animal Skeletons by Salmonella Academy. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey kids, as we all know, the evolution of species is an incredible process, driven by little more than the random chance that certain mutations may happen to provide a practical advantage in a creature's environment. And as a result, there's a lot of things out there that look super dumb once you strip back a few layers. Here's the top 10 worst animal skeletons of all time. So first and foremost, I'd like to settle a little debate.
I imagine that at least one of the animals that will be on here will be some sort of bird that cannot fly, like a penguin for example.
I've been seeing floating around the past few weeks. Yes, penguins do, in fact, have knees. But in order to hide full-grown legs into one plump cylinder, you gotta have a little skeletal trickery on your side. You guys ever do wall sits in gym class or elsewhere? One of the most torturous exercises out there. I now feel even worse for penguins, because not only did they have to deal
I don't think I've ever done wall sits, to be honest.
with living in a frigid black and white hellscape, the most hostile environment known to man second only to the vacuum of space, all the while constantly pursued by ravenous bloodthirsty sea dogs, but they're also secretly doing wall sits their entire
What? That's what a penguin skeleton looks like. It's like he's permanently trying to squat.
life. Quick side note, in Mandarin, the word for penguin consists of the characters for business goose, which is fucking hilarious. Like one day a goose put on a suit and said, "Today it is time to make..."
Penguins do kind of look like they're wearing suits sometimes because of the way I don't know, what do penguins have? Fur? I don't know. Because of the way they look.
A name for myself, honk. This next guy is known as Parsons chameleon, found in the more remote regions of Madagascar. Notice the fleshy protuberances around its nose area. Turns out, not fleshy, not even remotely fleshy, not even one flesh. Instead, it just has a skull forever frozen in time in the middle of exploding, like
That looks like some sort of dinosaur.
God shaping it out of clay, and he was just like, whatever, it's a feature now. So for that, this rough-headed reptilian gets number 9.
The question is, what purpose does that have? Because if it exists, it needs to have some sort of purpose. Because if it was useless and it was a hindrance, it would eventually disappear due to evolution. So it has to serve some sort of purpose at least.
Normally I would have ranked it higher, but that's a dope tail, so he gets some pity points. Next is the pufferfish. So for most of my life, I've pictured pufferfish as just not having any bones. I know it doesn't really...
Actually, how do pufferfish's bones work? They inflate and get bigger. How does that work? Their skeleton must be completely messed up.
But neither does them turning into a balloon like a goddamn cartoon. Turns out, in their normal state, they actually look like this. And when they inflate, those concentric rings of spine
their bones actually
and slide
expand
outwards past one another to cover the full area, like the aperture
bones
of a camera.
The bones themselves don't change. They stretch out, they move.
Lens expanding to cover the full frame of the fish. The sheer ingenuity of this design has shattered my childhood dream of real-life balloon animals, which has earned the pufferfish the number 8 spot on this list. Now, if you've gotten around to certain zoological circles, you've been shown this skull and been told, yes, that comes from the dwarf elephant.
What even is that?
You've never seen one? That's because they're extinct. And that thing in the middle? Yes, nothing more than the nose hole to which the trunk connects. However, if you're a rational, free-thinking adult like me, you can look past the lies spoon-fed to you by Nat Geo and other liberal media outlets and see this for what it is. A cyclops. Next is the orca, otherwise known as the killer whale, the panda torpedo, or the SeaWorld slave. It's
fun fact. Orcas are not actually whales. They are more closely related to dolphins. But for some reason they're called killer whales. Why? Who knows?
Skeleton is fairly normal at first glance, but check out this little thing under here. That little bony blip is actually all that remains of the legs and pelvis of the orca from when it evolved from land mammals. Personally, I think that's highly disrespectful.
What does that even do? Does that serve some sort of purpose? It's disconnected from the rest of the skeleton completely.
To their ancestors. Like, they could have taken the seal route and used those legs for good in the water, but instead these sea cowards said, no thanks, we're gonna undo all that evolution and just be bigger, smarter, warmer fish again. But hey, we'll keep this little piece of nothing just to remember you guys by. Truthfully, I could have chosen almost any cetacean to pick on for this, but the orca's face also reminds me of SCP-682, which is the most OP overrated shit out there, so he gets the number 6 spot. Moving on, now bear with me here. In every other mammal on Earth, the canine teeth point downward from the gum to the mouth. You know, like a tooth. But this guy, known as the Babirusa, said,
Oh,
and
these
decided to
things.
have them grow up through the entirety of its fucking snoot and out the other end, which is the most nonsensical thing I've ever seen. Like, toenails out the front? How cliche. Let's make them go through the whole foot instead. Look, now I can kick good behind me. That's not all though. These tusks also keep growing for the creature's entire life, which isn't a problem in and of itself, right? Rodents, they
How did evolution make that happen? That seems really bad. Evolution should have gotten rid of that at some point in time.
keep chewing stuff to wear them down. Alligators, they just let them fall out now and then. But the Babirusa is like, I'll just nut in a lady pig long before this becomes an issue. So if it lives long enough, the teeth can curve right on around and slowly bore into the thing's face, like built-in Chinese bamboo torture. And occasionally, they can end up
Oh my
actually
God.
piercing the skull and shish kebabbing the brain. Now, some people might say that this doesn't belong on this list, given that teeth aren't technically bones. And to those people, kids, we say, eat shit and die.
Teeth
Next,
are
we have the
bones.
octopus. The octopus skeleton is so bad,
Teeth are bones as far as I remember.
I'd say that this doesn't belong on this list, given that teeth aren't technically bones. And to those people, kids, we say, eat shit
Yeah, teeth are considered... Oh no, they're not bones. But they are considered part of the skeletal system.
and die. Next,
So they are technically bones, but at the same time they're not.
we have the octopus. The octopus skeleton is so bad that it doesn't even exist. Sure, they got this little thing in the middle, but that doesn't count, that's just chitin. And yeah, they can get in a jar or whatever.
What type of skeleton would an octopus have? It doesn't require a skeleton.
But at what cost? At the animal picnics, the crowd shouts, "Bleh, shun the spineless freak." And at the animal wheelbarrow races,
Literally
with nothing
spineless.
to grab hold of, the cephalopod holds a solitary vigil at the starting line. And lo, the octopus wins naught but a participant medal at the Grand Prix and the number 4 spot on this list. Moving on, here's the skeleton of a fruit bat. Now, not a big deal to us regular folk, but imagine if humans had no context of bats and they dug this thing up. Like, class, archaeologists have recently found these fossilized remains, and using modern
If I didn't know that was a bat, I would assume that's some sort of human who has some sort of freaky wings or just gigantic fingers.
technology, we can see exactly what it would have looked like back when it was alive. This abominable creature is known only to scientists as Finger Boy, and is theorized to have fed upon fruit, insects, and the dreams of orphans, which it would siphon out from the ears of the errant little waifs whilst they slumbered. By the way, if you Google image bat skeleton, like, more than half of them have the ears built in, just like, I feel the extraordinarily bat-like wings and figure of our decoration are much too subtle for our consumers. Better slap these on. At number 2, we have the anteater. From its oboe-like skull to its gorilla fist and
Did
hands,
not expect to
one
see
can
this
only
one, yeah.
wonder who let this creature exist. Fun fact, if you take the anteater's skull and blow into its nose, it plays a beautiful song recounting the animal's entire life, and then security escorts you out of the museum. Looking at this, I can only pose the question asked for generations long before my own. That being, why the long face? Before we get to the number 1 spot, here's a few honorable mentions. The wolf eel.
What is that? Oh,
The ostrich. This human-cat hybrid I found on a
I'm glad that thing is dead and no longer alive, because that's freaky as shit.
tabloid site. And of course, the mermaid. So at our number 1 spot, we have
The mermaid.
this creature. That's supposed to be a mirror. I know most of you can't see yourself in it on account of your filthy Dorito smooth
Humans?
screen, so just take my word for it. So what's wrong with humans, you ask? Well, a lot of things, but for now, let's stick to the skeleton. First off, these bones right here, these are known as the metatarsals. All part of the foot, right? No, that's a bunch of primate propaganda. In most other groups of land mammals, what we'd consider our ankles is actually the quote-unquote knee of the animal. Thanks a lot, walking upright. Also, it's estimated that around 80% of people will experience chronic back pain at some point in their life.
Yeah, no shit. Eventually, you'll get old and it will all just be pain. That's how aging works. The human body can't last forever.
Life. Thanks a lot, walking upright. Lastly, probably something you've heard about at some point, our skull to pelvis ratio. For most animals, giving birth, not a big deal. Small heads, wide hips, mazel tov. But check out the big brain on Brett. Throws a real monkey wrench in the works there. For a while it led to some problems till those extra brains figured out how to work around it, so I guess you win this round, humans. But that doesn't stop you from also winning the number 1 spot on the worst skeletons of all time. But hey, just cause you'll forever be flawed on the inside, doesn't mean you can't improve yourself on the outside. That's why you need to try Skillshare. Skillshare
I did not expect to see humans at the number 1 spot. I mean, yeah, humans are technically animals. Well, not technically, we are animals, but our skeleton's pretty good. The head to pelvis ratio is actually interesting. See, most men like women with wider hips. And I'm not sure if this is like proven by research or anything, but I do believe the reason for that is evolution. Wider hips means easier childbirth. So, liking wider hips is not just from a sexual standpoint, it's also just from an evolutionary standpoint. It makes perfect sense because, once again, wider hips, easier childbirth, easier reproduction, less chance of complications, and less chance of death. Anyway, like the video, subscribe, comment. The link to my Discord server is down in the description below, and I will see you in the next video.